So I'm here with Sasa Sestic from Honor Coffee, one of my inspirations for many years. I remember seeing you years ago competing, won the World Barista Championship in 2015 and then exploded, and now is in the forefront of innovation and just bringing out amazing products, responsible for the NCD and now the latest innovation, your Paragon Brewer, which I want to talk to you about because I'm really excited to understand more about this. Just take us through how you got there and what it's done for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you for chat. I appreciate it. I think personally one of my biggest values is innovation, something that drives me, gives me energy, why I do what I do. Connecting with the people, obviously, community, innovations, excellence is something that drives on a bus, all of us together. Last couple of years has been interesting. I could not travel much for 2 years, no farms, no projects, no fermentation. So being at home, no espresso machine at home as well. I'm an espresso person. I always love espresso. So being at home, what do? You brew filter coffee. And me being me, you kind of want to, see how we can do things differently, how we can change. And to be honest, brewing coffee with my son Alex, well, he's grown a lot now, but a couple of years ago he was super short. And brewing coffee next to him, it made me realize that, he's actually brewing coffee as good and some coffee is better than myself. And it really made me realize that I don't know enough about brewing. Also opened up my mind that we can learn, like it's only beginning for innovating in brewing. We have been, in my opinion, not doing as much as we possibly could. And I've been collaborating with Zurich University for quite a few years on NCD, and I also reached out to Professor Chahan and wanted to sort of start doing a lot of projects when it comes to coffee brewing. First out of the projects is a chill extract technique that we have explored, and but there's quite a few exciting things that we have been doing. How chill extract technique started? Well, as I mentioned, we spent quite a bit of time in Switzerland together prior to, COVID times. And we were discussing a lot about aroma volatiles. He's, in my opinion, one of the biggest experts to understand aroma volatiles, how to measure them, how to maximize them. And we very clearly realized that we need to find a way how we can capture more aroma volatiles. With the studies that we have done, we understood that after the extraction, or in order to encourage more aroma volatiles, we need hot extraction. But in the same time, after hot extraction, whether it's espresso, we have a spout and the hot liquid pouring, or filter coffee, hot liquid pouring out. With the really hot temperatures, we lose a lot of these aromas in the environment. Yes, they do smell great when we make coffee, but we thought we actually want to capture these aromas in a beverage rather than having that, I guess, aroma to be lost. And then we went into a very deep rabbit hole with R&D and everything else. So
that's the birthplace of Paragon. Yeah. So we got Reese to take us through the demo of the Paragon, and it was brilliant watching it, understanding how you have to have the chilled ball just as close to the extraction point as possible, and then removing it from that in the second part of the extraction to not overdo some of those volatile compounds.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think that's one of the main things. It's been nice to see a lot of people, tagging us on social media and then using, chilled rocks. The goal is that we understand how long do we chill coffee for. We've done a lot of studying, understanding when do we extract majority of aroma volatiles. And we've learned that first 20 to 30% of extraction is when we get 95%. And in saying that, that means that when we're extracting the coffee, if it's espresso, possibly, if you're doing a 40-second shot or 40-gram shot, 20 to 30% of that, between 8 to 12 grams, depending on the coffee, we should chill, but not entire beverage. If we are chilling entire beverage, we did find with the sensor analysis that, we changed some of the qualities. And with some coffees, they improve, but some coffees, they decrease. So we find it very volatile, if I can say. But the real magic is that 20 to 30% of extraction to be chilled, and the rest of the extraction not to be chilled. It has given us the best results. This is why when we made the Paragon, we made sure that we can remove that little side. Coffees that we are extracting 20 grams in, 300 grams out, more or less about first 100 grams we should be chilling. But I think it's exciting that it's really up to baristas to sort of see what they like and whether they want not chill for less or more. depending on the coffee as well. Like there's a lot to explore for all of us. But I feel we've given a bit of a guideline and sort of, hey, you use it as you wish. And these are some of the findings that we found.
Yeah, I love that as well, because you create the vision and then you give it to the people to take it even further and see what can you do with it just from the masses and the millions of different implementations and variations that go on. Then they come back to you with the feedback, and then you're on to the next innovation. Yeah. So the espresso, because Reese mentioned that you're working on, or you started working on the espresso version of chilling, but it was easier with the filter. But so, yeah, tell us a bit about the espresso, because I'm an espresso person as well, and I was excited to hear that that was part of it.
So one of the reasons why filter first, usually when we roast coffee for filter, a lot of roasters would roast lighter. And I think that's the key. In order to get more aroma volatiles, we should have light roast. The darker we roast, in the roasting process, we lose this volatile, so they're less available for us. And we found that sensory difference was huge in the filter coffee. For espresso, last year Kelly introduced the concept in World Barista Championships, and it is more complicated because if people love the espresso roast to be more developed, more round, more sweet, and maybe not to have all of these crazy flavors to be as dominant, due to the roast profile, the effect might not be as big, and we prefer, to fully develop our espressos, but roast them a little bit faster as well. And with a lot of our coffees, we obviously found a big difference between chill rock or not chill rock. Initially, for most of our mill-based coffees, the way we roast for, Aspen or raspberry candy, we not necessarily found a huge difference, because the way we roast milk coffee, we have like 13, 14-minute roast profile. We concentrate that shot, we make it a lot more soluble. So when we add the coffee, we actually can taste the flavor and everything. So there's a lot to learn. And but we, Reese should not say that we're doing it. Next year we are, of course. You should keep it quiet. You gotta inside. But and that's exactly why, because we still don't have a lot of answers. There's still a lot more work for us to do behind. With university, with us, with sensory data. So when we present something, we can actually present something with a really good backing and good ideas and good direction, rather than, hey, this is an idea, but it does not quite work for a lot of things. So, whether it's going to be early next year and middle of the year, we don't know, but we know it adds value. We know it works well. We just need to refine it exactly with what coffees and how to be used to maximize it.
That's exciting news. Shh, silence. Now tell us.
Reese, you're in trouble.
So I'm here with Reese from Nucleus Tools, which is one of Sasha's brand, the owner of Honor Coffee.
Yep.
And he's going to take us through a new brewing technique with the Paragon Brewer, which is the latest innovation to come out of Nucleus. So yeah, talk us through this. Explain us how this came to be.
Yeah, so originally Sasha was doing some work at the Zurich University with Professor Jahan, originally with the NCD, which is our distributor tool over there. This was a little project that he was already working on, and he asked Sasha, do you want to be involved with it? So started working using this method called extract chilling with Hugh Kelly leading up to WBC. So originally for espresso, but then Sasha got really excited, wanted to use it for filter coffee as well, and inspired him to compete in the recent Australian Brewers Cup Championship, where he placed second by a very narrow margin. But what we found is a lot of the aromatic compounds that we extract out of coffee comes from the first 25% of the brew. But unfortunately, a lot of that is actually lost to the environment by temperature, because it's very temperature sensitive. So they've actually found by just chilling down the first 25% to 40% of the brew, you can actually retain more volatile compounds in the brew that actually give you more like fruity and floral notes in the coffee.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So is that the idea of the ball in the middle, to just chill it as it's dripping through?
Exactly. So it actually does matter how far like the headspace is.
Yeah.
So we actually want this to be as close to the coffee as possible. We actually don't want as much headspace. So we want this to be as close to the ball as possible.
Yeah.
So we actually retain all of those volatile aromatic compounds. So we can adjust it so it's right near.
And what are we drinking today?
This is a natural Ethiopian coffee. We chose this coffee because it can have some slightly negative, like aromatic compounds.
Oh.
So it can be a little bit like bitter, have some like dryness in the finish. But the great thing about the Paragon is it increases, I guess, the more desirable aromatic compounds that come from the first part of the brew. So yeah, we actually get less of those negative qualities, and it makes it very, very clean. So it takes it from something that can be quite volatile to something that's actually quite clean. So although it is a natural processed coffee, it actually presents more like a natural, or more like a wash. Sorry.
Yeah, like a washed Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just going to be doing it for the first 2 pours. That'll be dripping over that cold rock. So I want it to be nice and evenly dispersed over the rock. Yeah, so the surface area where the brew is actually in contact with the cold rock is really important as well. So the shape of the rocks is intentionally designed for that as well.
And do you have to chill the rock at all, or is it just
Yeah, so I get them straight out of the freezer.
Yeah.
I'll do that for my first 2 pours. I'll let that drip through, and then I'm just going to move that iced rock out the way because it can actually increase those favourable aromatic compounds, but can also increase the not so desirable aromatic compounds as well. So if we actually leave it on there for too long, we can actually get some negative characters as well. So that's why we move that out of the way, and then we continue our brew. So in that first 40%, we have all of the aromatic compounds that we wanted to accentuate and lock into the brew, and now we're just brewing, we're just finishing the brew without the ice rock. So, and that's like the Paragon allows you to, seamlessly transition out the way. It's got a nice little drip tray here as well, so you don't get water all over your scales.
Because chilled extraction is not super new, like it's been around, but this design is something that's really clever.
Originally Berg Wu did it 2016 when he won the WBC. He's actually chilling his portafilters down. But again, what we've found is if it's in contact with something that's chilled for too long, you can actually increase some more negative aromatic compounds that we may not want actually in the brew. So it can be a little bit dry, a little bit tannic, and especially for filter coffee, it can actually be a little bit thinner in its body and have some more, negative characters to it. So we've been able to actually, design something that we're actually just doing it for the first part of the brew. For espresso, we can just move the rocks out the way. But for this, we've got a nice little stand here that makes it really nice for the workflow.
So tell me about the espresso, because that I heard you mention that earlier. You were designing it originally for espresso. How does this work? Like, how would this setup? Obviously, it's not this particular setup, but how does the chilled rock setup work for espresso machines? Yeah,
it's something that we're still thinking about. There's a lot more research to be done as well. The impacts are a lot more obvious in filter coffee than it is espresso. Espresso is a very concentrated beverage already, so when it's side by side, sometimes it's actually not as apparent, the differences. And it was a lot easier to make something for filter coffee. So we're still working on something that's going to work for espresso, but at the moment we're just using whiskey rocks.
Right.
And we just solder on dessert forks. We just solder them onto whiskey rocks. It's pretty rogue. Saying that Hugh Kelly was using them at the WBC.
So is it after it comes through the portafilter that you're then chilling it?
Yeah. As close to the spouts as possible. Some people have even chilled down just the spouts of the portafilter as well. It's actually screwing off the spouts, putting that in the freezer, screwing it back on. So just the spouts are actually cooling it down. But again, that is in contact with something that's cold for the whole duration of the extraction. which again, we're going to intensify some of those more like negative aromatic compounds that we may not want. So by having something that is removable, easy to remove, it actually, just traps in more of what we want into the brew.
We've got the compass to tell us what temperature it is at. And the compass is another tool designed by Nucleus.
Absolutely, yeah. Designed by Gus Mackey. So he did a lot of work going to neuroscience lectures and understanding our tasting system, why we taste what we taste in coffee. And he did found that, like, as we all know, like, temperature affects the way that we experience coffee. Like, as it cools down, like all beverages, wine, anything that you're into. So we already knew that, but it was just figuring out exactly why. So he found, at different temperatures, our taste receptors are more sensitive to certain aspects of, qualities within the coffee. So, for instance, around 45 degrees, our tactile receptors are most sensitive. So at that stage, you're going to experience more tactile in coffee. 37 degrees is where we experience most sweetness as well. So, by using this, it gives us like a common language. It's really good for quality control, making sure everyone's tasting coffee at the same temperature, and also just adding value to the final cup as well. Some of our more, high-end options in, the cafe, say at Honor and the stores there, that work with Compass a lot. You can really add more value to that end experience and give kind of detailed tasting notes and how they change through the temperature ranges.
Yeah, definitely for your ones that, like at Marrickville, where they're $16 an espresso, to get that consistency and that experiential part of it, really important, because obviously getting people used to paying that price when they're used to paying $5 is very hard. So any area where you can really... So if someone says, I want it extra hot, you're going, no, you got to drink it at 45.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I mean, we always say, what do you like? We're not here to tell anyone how to drink their coffee, but for people that order these types of coffees, there are obviously people who, understand and appreciate coffee a little bit more, and we just want to be able to deliver on that experience more. Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, awesome. So what are we at now? We're at
54. 54.
5 degrees. Yeah, so usually around here, coffee's going to be a little bit more vibrant. You're going to get a little bit more of like the kind of bitter compounds as well. But always like a little bit more lively, a little bit more vibrant at this temperature. And then you'll see go through that kind of tactile stage, and then it'll obviously get sweeter as it comes into that kind of 37 degree range. So guys can have
and I guess when you're you can't really add cool water to it because you're diluting it, so you really are just about waiting for it to cool down.
Cool down, yeah, exactly. How'd you go?
Yeah, actually, it was still quite enjoyable even at 54. So I was like,
absolutely.
There's not a lot of astringency at all in that.
Yeah.
So.
And then another good thing about I guess a question that we get a lot with the Paragon is the aromatic compounds being lost to the environment. Do we only experience the increase in volatile aromas when it's hot? But it actually gets more pronounced as it cools down.
Yeah. Okay.
So because we've actually trapped those compounds in the cup.
Yeah.
So it actually gets more pronounced as the coffee cools down. So if you're doing a side-by-side comparison, it actually gets more pronounced, the differences between non-extract chilling and when we extract chill. Yeah,
because I guess when you're just doing regular extraction, then you're losing it to evaporation and heat and
So we found not only increases in flavour but also like the tactile as well. Tactile's actually been really surprisingly influenced by extract chilling as well. Always find even if there isn't a huge difference between flavour, the tactile is always a lot silkier, a lot smoother, a lot more rounded in its tactile experience as well.
All right, we're down to 48, getting very close.
Yeah.
We're going to try Liam. 45, I think, or 37.
Tactile.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, not exactly those temperatures, but usually when we serve it, it's in ranges.
Yeah, okay. So
we'll have a range of like 50 to 55, have like, 40 to 45, and then, maybe 37 to 39.
Yeah.
Kind of recommended temperature ranges. Doesn't mean you have to drink it exactly on those temperatures.
Exactly,
But many people using this on the WBC stage as well. to be able to actually guide, judges through that tasting experience.
Yeah.
Because that was the biggest thing is, why when we give someone a cup of coffee in competition and we say it's going to taste like this, and then they don't taste it. So Gus, Angus Mackey, the creator of it, just went, why? Tried to understand it more, and temperature is a big reason.
Yeah.
Big reason why. So being able to say, this is what you're going to taste at this temperature, and actually having something that is saying that that is the actual temperature of what the coffee is. Because a lot of people will say, wait 30 seconds, but you are going to get variances between cups and, the environment, how hot it is that day as well. So having something that actually guides you to the exact temperature just gives you more chance of, delivering on the experience that you say you're going to deliver.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us today, Sasha. And Sasa Sestic here, guys.
Thank you very much.